I've actually enjoyed staying home and trying to stay out of the virus's way. You know, I've been practicing, I've been writing, getting some stuff done at home. I haven't ever had a chance to do. But once we go, you know, once like, you know, the end of June or early July, once that kicks in, and I'm going to be like, man, I should be in like Amsterdam right now playing the
North Sea Jazz
Festival.
Yeah.
Right.
I would imagine somebody like you're so collaborative, right? You play with everybody on Earth. I would imagine at some point you miss playing with people.
Well, that I already miss. You know, I've sort of gone back to my roots, you know, playing along with records again, you know,
Sure.
and just put my headphones on and play along. But yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same as people, you know, reacting to what you play, you know, and being in the moment.
You know, with when you were here, you were in Burlington in October with Chick Corea and Brian Blade. That was our last jazz show that we did. We were going to have Charles Lloyd the next week, but COVID got in the way. So
is that right?
You're actually our last big jazz show to this point.
Wow.
Smoking show, by the way.
You know, we were, every time we come up there, man, we always play. It's a really good show, mostly because the people are always so dedicated to the music, and they really appreciate everything that comes through there, you know. And then we were in Europe right when this whole thing started, so our tour got squashed, man. You know, we didn't even make it halfway through. So
how was the scramble to get back home?
Fortunately, it was not as chaotic as we thought it would be. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Wednesday where Trump decided he was going to place the travel ban, but there was some major details that weren't expressed in that initial announcement about you know, those travel restrictions didn't apply to U.S. citizens. So we were, you know, we had to cancel the rest of the tour, which was probably going to be canceled anyway, because the days leading up to that travel ban, our gigs were getting canceled one behind the other. Sure. So we were probably prepared to come home anyway. But then when that happened, you know, our tour manager scrambled to get us home before Friday midnight. And we were in Brussels, and fortunately, Brussels wasn't like Paris or London or Rome or Madrid. You know, I think there were people really. Those airports were notoriously packed with people trying to get back. But getting home from Brussels wasn't too bad.
Yeah, good tour manager too. That guy's great. Right? He's
Yes.
Stick forever. He's awesome.
Yeah, Chris Campbell.
Chris Campbell, that's right.
That's the man.
Right. So just quick more on the present, and then we'll go to the past, because the past is more fun.
Yeah.
How do you see this playing out? I know you've got like a kind of an administrative artistic gig at the Newport, so you've got to think about these things, and you got to think about clubs coming back. What's the Christian McBride picture of the future?
Well, the hard part about this entire thing is you can't make any plans. You know, when this thing first started in March, we thought, you know, we could be back at the end of April. Then that changed to the middle of May. Now that's changed to we don't know when. You know, there are a lot of venues, a lot of places that are simply closed until further notice. You know, and the reality is, how many places are actually going to be able to withstand that? You know, how they going to be able to survive that? I shudder to think that, you know, some major venue won't be able to make it through this. From the way it stands, it feels like someplace like the Village Vanguard. I mean, that's the oldest club in New York. I believe the second oldest jazz club in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Baker's Keyboard Lounge, right? Is that number one?
That's right. And but this place has been open for almost 80 years. Yeah. And I would hate to see something drastic happen because of this, but we don't know. That I guess that's my point, is you just can't really make any predictions as to what's going to happen. We had to cancel the Newport Jazz Festival this year, as well as the Montclair Jazz Festival. I know the Monterey Jazz Festival just recently shut it down, and yeah, man, I cross my fingers that everything is running back somewhat to normal by next summer. And between now and next summer, when these clubs do open, I'm sure they're going to have some very heavy restrictions, occupancy restrictions, right, and distancing restrictions. Wonder what that's going to look like.
And that'll be especially weird, I think, for a musician on stage. You're looking out at like 20 people in masks and a lot of empty space. You're like, oh, this used to be the worst gig ever. And
well, yeah, right.
You can get, right?
Well, the other thing is you can forget about seeing the Monday night big band,
right.
or any big band for that matter.
I hadn't thought about that.
If you socially distance a big band, you're probably going to need about
football field, right?
Pretty much,
Yeah. Wow. Let's go back in time to when you were here, because we're going to show this performance that you and the trio did back in 2016, 15.
Yep.
And I think because of your time here, you are the universally acclaimed favorite person of the entire Discover Jazz Festival, because we had so much fun. It was just such a blast. I just remember, if you recall it, I know you play a million gigs, and obviously that was 5 years ago when you played with everybody. Do you sort of remember that time in Burlington at all, and remember being the artist in residence for the week and playing in that week?
I remember everything about it. It was a wonderful, wonderful time up there. And every once in a blue moon, I'll go back and I'll look at that video, of the trio. I remember doing when I went to visit that high school, a couple of high schools.
Okay.
I remember being interviewed by Bob Blumenthal and also interviewing some other musicians.
Aaron Goldberg was one of them? That's
right. Yep. Mimi Jones was one. And I also remember giving wasn't it a Sunday morning kind of thing in some restaurant?
Over the bakery. Yeah, that's right.
That's
that was a cool thing. You gave a lecture on the bass and taught an older woman how to play the bass. She'd never touched a bass before. You gotta get up and play the bass.
That's right.
You played a kid show for like the 5-year-olds, and you were throwing them candy if they could guess.
That's right. That's right.
And you did a great DJ gig at Nectar's where you plugged your bass into the board and played along.
That was amazing. That was a great gig too. Jennifer Hartswick came and sat in.
That is right. And I think it was a day or two after Louis Johnson had died. So you played some Brothers Johnson.
That's right. That's right.
I'm sure he was formative for a young bass player. It was an amazing time. And that band that you brought was really incredible. We were so taken with Christian Sands, we had him come back and play another gig 2 years later. And I think it's still amazing. I rewatched the show just to talk, and that's Jerome's first gig with the band.
That was his very, very first gig with my trio.
That seems impossible to me when I watch it. Like, how can he smile? How can he be so at ease and so having so much fun?
Well, I think Jerome has that professional streak in all of us. When you're scared, you're not supposed to show it.
True. Never let him see you sweat, right?
That's right. That's right.
Man.
But I mean, it's not so bad that it was his first gig with my trio, but his first gig was also going to be televised. So it was going to be documented
for posterity forever.
Exactly.
Well, he did really well. It worked out beautifully, right?
Yeah, and then Jerome is he's turned out pretty special. I mean, he was already special, but he's turned out to be quite a band leader and a spokesperson in his own right. So lots of good things have happened for all of us since that time. I can't believe that was 5 years ago already.
It is amazing to think.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Two amazing sets. What I loved about you guys, that you were here, but to be the artist in residence, is like some people you can see. You know, I respect anybody that does the outreach and the connection, right? Some people are really good at it, and some obviously they got to try it on. And you guys just like live it. You guys just, all three of you just had it so down. You were just like part of the town for like 5-6 days. You've seen you walking up and down the street. You know, you're in the record store. They still remember your visits to the record store, kind of wistfully. Remember when Christian McBride came in and bought out the store? They like that.
See all that behind me, right?
Yeah. Oh, is that the record library back there?
That's the record library.
I know you ducked in when you were here with Chick.
Oh man, I really went bonkers that time.
Yeah.
I was afraid my wife was going to serve me papers for all these shipments of records coming to the house.
Well, if you want to hear what a quality shop that is, I asked the guy. I said, how much did Christian spend? He goes, oh, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. So, but that's good. Good answer. What a jerk.
That's a very good answer. That's a great place, man.
Yeah. And you made yourself part of the whole town. Like I said, that was really something. You also did a lecture on film music that you liked.
That's right. Yep.
You included Lalo Schifrin's Bullet, which is my all-time favorite soundtrack. I love that thing.
I wonder why.
Coincidence. Pure coincidence.
Right.
So,
but you know, as I mentioned 5 years ago when I was there as artist in residence, Burlington has always been such an important music town. You know, I'd noticed this not that long ago. Someone had asked me about, you know, the 90s, you know, being like one of the young lion jazz artists, you know, going on the road. And it occurred to me that so many places that I used to go to on the regular throughout the 90s, that stopped happening, you know, for whatever reason. Certain places closed, certain places changed their format. And so there's a number of places where I used to travel that I don't go to any longer. But Burlington has always been consistently on my calendar for 30 years, 30 straight years, man.
That's amazing. You know?
And I love that town, man.
Yeah, I was looking at our list. Our list is computerized, only goes back to 2003. But you've been here a handful of times. Then you're here at John McLaughlin. You're here
right.
That Birds of Heather.
Roy Haynes, right.
Roy Haynes, yeah.
Yep.
You were here. You've been here at least twice on your own. And I'm sure before 2003, you were here a handful of times as well.
That's right. That's right.
You turned professional when you were 17, I believe. Is that right? That's
correct. Well, I mean, if professional means I got paid, then I turned professional when I was 13. But wow. I didn't have like real gigs until this was another thing I was telling somebody not that long ago. I would say 15 because when I was in high school, it was right after my, let me see, 1988, yeah. Right after my my sophomore year of high school, I met Wynton Marsalis. And through Wynton, you know, once Wynton comes into your life, your life changes, right?
Yeah.
And so at that time, I met Wynton, and he liked how I played, and he became like instantly, almost became like a big brother figure, a mentor. And he says, "Man, wait till I tell my brother about you." And so within the next 3 months, I met Branford, I met Delphio, I met Terrence Blanchard, Donald Harrison, all the cats who were the young lions of the mid '80s. Mm-hmm. And Delphio Marsalis hired me to play a gig with his quintet in 1987. So that was my first like real serious high pressure gig. It was at the National Black Caucus in Washington, D.C.
That's amazing. Well, your high school band was pretty incredible, right? You had some crazy ringers in that band. If you could tell who they were, who was in your high school band?
Yeah, we had a awesome high school rhythm section. It was me, Joey DeFrancesco, Kurt Rosenwinkel, and Questlove.
That's just too hilarious, right? It's too good a band.
Yeah, it was too good a band.
Yeah. And every decade you guys play together is the Philadelphia experiment. Is that how that works? Is that the
Well,
kind of that group?
yeah, I wish it were that often.
No, not even that often. Yeah, that's a tough bunch of 4 schedules to put together, I imagine.
Well, the Philadelphia experiment is actually just me, Questlove, and Uri Kane playing.
Oh, that's right.
He's
No,
in
that's
that,
right.
yeah.
Oh, I got that wrong.
But I mean, Questlove is so busy.
Yeah, I
Get him for anything outside of the roots or DJing or producing, forget it. It's like a 5-year waiting list.
You get a text back, probably. Yeah, his schedule looks amazing to me. You had Boys to Men in school there too with you, right?
Yeah, Boys to Men was there.
That's a school for the arts right there. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, that's exactly what it was. Creative and Performing Arts, Kappa.
And it's still there, I'm sure? Still
legendary school in Philadelphia, still there.
Excellent.
So yeah, the founding members of the Roots, Questlove and Black Thought, also known as Tyreek and Amir, and Boys to Men. Mel LaRue, great singer. She came out after us, but Bilal, the R&B singer, went there. Jasmine Sullivan went there. Jaleel Shaw went there for a hot second. I mean, anybody who is making some music that's come out of Philadelphia since the 80s, more than likely they went to Kappa.
Yeah, that's an impressive year you had. Good prom.
Yeah, I'm actually, there's been rumors going around that someone's finally going to do a documentary on our graduating class of 89. Because I think that's really unusual that many people that did well in their professional careers all graduated in the same year.
Yeah, and knew each other and played together. And all
that's
that.
right.
That is quite amazing, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So you've played with just about you've made it your goal, it seems like, professionally, to come out and play with all the people that you listen to and admire, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I listened to you on the Moth, so you just missed Art Blakey, but you seem to have found everybody else.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you ever get intimidated getting up on the bands? Probably not anymore. When you were young, did it intimidate you to get on the stage with those people, or were you just like dying to do it?
Well, I don't know surely in those days I was always nervous to get on. I mean, I played with Freddie Hubbard for 2.5 years, and I don't think at any point did I ever feel secure. You play with somebody like McCoy Tyner or Bobby Hutcherson or George Coleman or any of those legends. Oh yeah, I was always nervous. Once we got past the first song, first 1 or 2 songs, then I was okay. But then also playing with my peers. I mean, playing with somebody like Roy Hargrove, because Roy was a walking library of songs. So, even though he was only a couple of years older than me, he was decades older than me in terms of knowledge and how many songs he knew. So every time we would get on the gig, I was crossing my fingers that he wouldn't call some obscure ballad that I'd never heard of before, Did
it ever happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just find your way through it, I'm sure.
And I have to, use that phrase that all bass players are so embarrassed to say, "Hey man, I don't know that one."
It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Roy, you got to break it out. Yeah, Roy was a terrible loss. That was a little far.
Yeah.
So young. He was a Jazz Fest, alum.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Everybody is. So.
That's right.
Yeah, we are so sad not to have this festival going on, but we're really glad that we have some of this stuff documented and we're able to see some of these performances.
Yes, me too.
And like that documentary that our local station made about your whole visit here was a great thing.
Right.
Really
I remember when I went up to the newsroom and played a solo bass thing.
A solo bass thing with Brent.
Ornette Coleman had just passed away, I think.
That's right.
While I was there.
That's right. You played on what I think might be the dream gig. I'm just going to throw that in. This one sounded intimidating to me. Like when Sonny Rollins is going to be a trio at Carnegie Hall, and you're stepping in with Roy Haynes, who played with them originally in the trio, right?
Yes.
And you got the call. the only person under 70.
You're right.
But I mean, that's just got to be such a huge ask. Like, you're the man.
Oh, totally, absolutely, and it was no less intimidating or earth-shattering when I got it the second time when Sonny did his 80th birthday celebration at the Beacon Theater.
Yeah.
Just 2 years later.
Wow.
And speaking of such, Ornette Coleman came and sat in with us there.
Oh.
And
Well, and Sonny played together. I think I read about that in the Times.
Oh man, listen, it was. I guess there are some times in life. Certainly now is one of those times where you're experiencing something that you know is historic. You know,
yeah.
And when I did those two concerts with Sonny Rollins, first one at Carnegie Hall, but that second one at the Beacon when Ornette Coleman came on stage, I just remember thinking, you know, I am standing on stage making music with Sonny Rollins, Ornette Coleman, and Roy Haynes. Are you kidding me? You know,
nice work if you can get it, man.
Right? You know. Wow. Yeah. But you know, that's only after I sort of because once Ornette came out, you know, you could I knew that musically something was going to shift, and I was going to have to make a decision on, like, okay, since there's no piano up here, and Roy Haynes is going to do what he's going to do. What do I do? Do I go with Roy or do I go with Ornette? Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
So I was doing a musical dance up there on stage, you know, and because Roy was kind of keeping the form, Ornette certainly was not. You know, he was making up all of these melodies that just
Harmonic land.
Exactly. So I'm going, okay, well, I'm going to do my best to address both parties, you know. And yeah, once Ornette finished his solo, then that's when I had that moment of, wow, something historic just happened.
Well, in a way, you're providing a bridge for the audience, right? Because the audience has the same conundrum. Like, do I follow it, the form of the song, or do I go up into the ether with Ornette, or the midpoint? What do I do? So that's how, I'm sure it's helpful for people listening as well, right?
You know, in some way. Ethan Iverson, I saw this online somewhere. Someone had said that, well, you know, it's a shame McBride didn't break the form and just go with Ornette, you know, and free it up, you know. Mm-hmm. And so that, you know, there's this thread of like jazz nerds, you know, saying how disappointed they were that I didn't start playing free. And I remember Ethan Iverson jumped in. He said, "Hey guys, none of those people had ever played together before. It was completely spur of the moment. Put yourself in Christian's shoes. I mean, so had he gone free just because that's what you wanted him to do, now where does that leave Roy Haynes? You know, Roy Haynes is just be out there by himself, just playing time." He said, "You know, I think Christian did a good job walking the tightrope."
That's great.
You know?
Well, if they'd have played better, they could have gotten the gig, and they could have gone free with Ornette, maybe. But you got the gig. So it's
hello.
I guess I know you're a big Philly sports fan, so I'll ask you one sports question, okay? Why aren't the Sixers better?
What do you mean, why aren't the Sixers? Well, that's actually
like they should be an elite team, but they're not an elite team to me. I don't know.
Well,
like not quite. Was that a rude way to ask it? It just seems like they should be one of the 3 or 4 that everybody talks about, and they're not.
Well, they are one of the 3 to 4 that everyone talks about, but they talk about them in the disappointing sense.
Like when you watch this Michael Jordan thing and you see all the behind-the-scenes drama, you're like, wow.
Oh, man, wasn't that something?
That looks exhausting to me.
Wow.
I was amazed he punched 3 teammates in the face at practice during the – like, wow. Like, Jazz doesn't get that raucous, does it?
It used to.
He's not throwing punches at practice, is he? I would hope not.
It sounds like Jazz was very much more violent at one point. Yeah. Then it turned nice somewhere in the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, you hear stories about, you know, Mingus punching out guys, and
Mingus should have been on the Bulls for sure. Mingus was definitely a punch thrower. He's your power forward throwing
that's
the punches
right.
in the elbows down there.
You know, guys packing. You know, Elvin Jones, Art Blakey. You know, you hear these stories about, you know, lots of knives, guns, punches.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much fun that must have been. Like, you know, there's just that kind of tense energy, you know, and making some music.
You can bring it back after we're finally playing somewhere again. You can be packing.
Yeah, that's not my style.
The air's over. I think the air is gone.
And Wayne Shorter told me the story that one time they were playing in, I can't remember where he said, but Herbie and Miles had a little tiff about, I don't know if it was music or money or something, but he said he walked over to see Miles and Herbie in the corner, and Wayne said, you know, he turned around and, you know, so they'll do whatever they need to do. Wayne said he turned back around and Herbie's glasses were like this. It's Miles had gotten ticked off.
Yep. Point to the band leader.
Right.
That's a great one. Well, Chris, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got a busy schedule. I just appreciate so much that you're taking the time to do this, because we've had such a great time when you came and played here. I can't wait till you come back with whatever iteration of the band, whatever band you got, whatever band you're in. You know you're going to come back here. And we're all going to look forward to watching this performance and remember what a great time that was.
Hey, man, Steve, you do such great work. I'm so glad you're there. And I look forward to coming there and visiting one of my favorite towns and visiting one of my favorite dudes.
Yeah, it's going to happen, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.